Mobile Tech Conference, Internet of Things Conference in Berlin. Wir sind immer noch im NH Hotel hier. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Mengmeng Chen Zeit gefunden hat, um zu mir zu kommen für ein kleines Interview. Mengmeng ist Leiterin der US-Zentrale von Seed Studios. Hi Meng. We're going to switch to English now.
Of course.
Meng, please tell us a little bit about Seed Studios, the history of the company and what you're doing there.
Okay, so we started in Shenzhen in 2008, right now around 300 people in total, and we call ourselves an open source hardware innovation platform. What that means is that we facilitate an ecosystem that's easier for people to prototype and take it into production, and all the way to kind of getting them connected to the greater ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The topic of your talk here today at the conference was design from manufacturing. But before we get to design, I'd like to talk a little bit about manufacturing first. You elaborated on the future of manufacturing and how actually manufacturing is constantly changing. What are the factors? What is changing and what are the factors driving this change?
Yeah. So I think if we look at Industrial Revolution and how things has been evolving, it's always been efficiency driven, right? We are doing things in a larger scale. We're splitting jobs all over the world. This whole globalization is all based on we're making more and more something, or we're making it cheaper and faster and in a better way. Mm-hmm. However, that's based on the assumption that we're all going to be using the same kind of phones, we're all going to be needing the same kind of things, and I think we can all testify that it's just not true anymore. So we're seeing the people's needs are being diverse in all kinds of different ways. We're seeing that in media, we're seeing that in all other industries, and that's going to happen in hardware as well. People are going to need hardware that's going to cater to their specific needs in their particular situation, and it's not likely one product that's ubiquitous going to be able to kind of satisfy that need. So we're going to see more of what I call indie products happening in the market, which also means that there's going to be smaller runs of production. There's going to be manufacturing going to be much more democratized and decentralized, and I think that's what we are going to see happening in the next 5 to 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
That's an interesting aspect, the democratizing of manufacturing. Still, it is or can be a pretty frustrating process, manufacturing.
Yeah.
You painted, or you used a very interesting image that you said if software is like a band, like a music band, then hardware or manufacturing is like an orchestra.
Yeah.
Can you go a little bit deeper into the aspect why can manufacturing be so frustrating?
Of course. So I think software has already started with this development methodology almost. You have 3 guys with laptops, and there you have a software company, and they can iterate almost at no cost because they can push out the change to all of their users basically from their service. But hardware, the physical elements of things make it very challenging, whether from a cost perspective or from a logistical perspective, to iterate really fast. But in order for a hardware product to be innovative and find a product market fit, you still have to iterate really quickly. So the concept of rapid prototyping, lean startup still apply here. But then you require many more layers of coordination, from suppliers to your engineering resources, to your designers, to your mechanical guys, all the way to your distribution and retail and drop shipping and all of that. So that physical element makes it a lot harder to coordinate, which means that kind of like an orchestra, you kind of do a big coordinated dance to make sure everything is aligned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going back to the democratizing aspect, we have Kickstarter now, or have been having it for lots of years now. You mentioned that about 86% of Kickstarter projects have to fight with delays of the shipment in the end, and you took a look at the reasons. What are the reasons in most cases?
Of course. So first of all, it's not Kickstarter only per se. I think for as the means of reaching to your niche community and accessible funds and kind of building a brand from nothing is becoming easier. You are going to see more and more people getting into this space who traditionally may or may not know much about hardware manufacturing. And that is bound to happen for people to don't know simply what to expect and how much work it's going to entail in order for something to kind of go from a product idea into actually being shipped to each bagger's home. So that's why I hear a lot of stories of people who get funded, get a lot of money, and then say, okay, now what I do? So they didn't really plan too much of what they need to do next in order to kind of fulfill that promise that they made in the beginning. And that's by no fault, but fraud or trying to cheat. It's basically they didn't know or didn't expect. And then I think that's a big problem that we're trying to do by educating more people about manufacturing and what that process is like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's switch to design a bit now. The talk was called Design from Manufacturing. Some people might know the concept of design for manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you tell us the difference?
Of course. So design for manufacturing is a term that's commonly used among contract manufacturers who basically a client gives them a prototype or a engineering sample, and they do what we call a DFM review. Mm-hmm. So looking at manufacturability of your kind of engineering design and giving feedback on things that you need to change. However, often in those times, you need to kind of fight a constant battle between the designers of yes, these are things that you need to change. You probably don't need to have such complex design, or you don't need to have these kind of components. And that can cause a lot of communication issues during that phase, because designers can be a little bit protective of their design, and it's already at a much later stage of their product. So you likely have to change a lot more and do a lot more coordination. If we do instill that manufacturability perspective from the very beginning, as people are designing their product from the first place, you don't really need to kind of backtrack and kind of fix these things, come back later on. So that's what I meant by design from manufacturing. So being alongside with people who know about manufacturing and kind of have them side by side, ensure that by the time your product is ready to scale, ready to be produced, you already have a manufacturable perspective in it. Yeah.
Okay. When smaller companies or hardware startups, in their beginning, when they're starting up, most of the time they're probably producing smaller batches of their products, whatever, like 50 or 100 pieces. Then most of the time it's actually not the cost that's most important for them. What is most important for them in those cases?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned in my talk, the time to market is really key. As you, in all the startup talk, you talk about product market fit, and that's the same for hardware as well. So you need to kind of, and a lot of things I think in hardware are things that if you don't do it, you would just never learn. Mm-hmm. That's why I always tell hardware startups, like, let's just do it and try it. And we can't just sit here in a room and talk about and draw like things on whiteboards all day. So doing that small product run, having it out to some alpha users and collecting feedback and might be pushing your next iteration is extremely important. And doing that fast can get you closer to that product market fit faster, and then possibly set a very good stage for your product to be successful in the long run. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course, this is also a conference for developers, and most of our viewers are developers. Yeah. Are there any like similarities in this hardware process to software development? Maybe agility principles, agile methods?
Yeah, of course. Again, so there's a lot of talk about like lean startup, and similarly in the manufacturing, we talk about lean manufacturing, agile manufacturing. in terms of agility, I think what we try to do is to have more of a flexibility on the manufacturing line that caters to small batch manufacturing. The larger production runs are set up to be in a way to cut margins really thin, but that also means that you need to give them a very, very mature product, very, very mature guidelines to follow in order for that product to be successful in the end. However, that's often not the case when you're doing small production runs, and then that then require a line of manufacturing workers who are optimized or educated or who are used to quick change of SKUs, and also can learn things really fast, and also give advice on from the manufacturing process, and have that be part of the learning process that we kind of all go through. So that's what what we call Agile Manufacturing Center has been optimized to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seed Studios is a Chinese company.
Yeah.
But you're working and you're based in the US branch in the Bay Area. So basically, you mentioned in your talk too, you're bringing back manufacturing to the US. You know, of course, China is very famous for lots and lots of electronic manufacturing.
Yes.
But now you're taking it back.
Yes, of course. So the idea exactly to be able to help people to design from manufacturing. I think for all the hardware, either developers or startups or makers alike in the Silicon Valley, there is a lack of knowledge about manufacturing, and then we feel like we can contribute to the bigger ecosystem by bringing either talent or resources from like our 7-8 years of experience helping people go through that process in Shenzhen. So as people are developing a prototype, they can join in our manufacturing line in Silicon Valley and be alongside with people who kind of already adept at doing these things and just figure things out all together. You don't have to wait, China to wake up, Skype with them, see if they're on the same page, and wait for 3 weeks for your sample to arrive, and oh shit, it didn't work out the way you want it to be.
I see.
So that live communication, working side by side with people, rapid prototyping and faster iteration is exactly what we're trying to do in the Bay Area.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Mengmeng, thanks a lot for your insights, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.